said it during a mentorship class at the City Hall when I was speaking, and I said to Fiona Taylor and Stephen Green, and I said, this is another event I have in mind, you know, bringing all the faith leaders together. Before this event, I've been to, let me say, about 15 churches in Southwark and mosques, churches and mosques, to speak to the congregation, and not everybody allowed me to speak, but you know, some few didn't allow. You know how our community is all about. People are scared and everything. When they see the topic, police and youth, they scared. That's where they kind of lay back. But what matters is we need to start reaching out to these people, not just preaching about prosperity or anything in church. Churches have a lot to do, and that's one of the things that we're looking to do as well. Bringing all the faith leaders together, everybody together in one room, and see how we can work together. Because most young people go to church, and they have their church, they have their youth department as well. It's not just about talking to them, it's about telling them the moral thing, telling them this is what you need to do. If you have anybody out there that is a gang, or anyone living close to your door that is a gang, that you're keeping quiet and things are going on underneath, and you can't come out and speak, these are the things that goes far. So we need to start, enlighten these young people, tell them this is the right thing, and we ourselves, we need to do the right thing. If you're telling a young man not to do one thing, and you are busy doing the same thing, you want them to see as an example, it's hard for them to see. So you as a parent, if you, like I said to them, I've sent so many texts out before this event, I said to them, don't go to club on Friday. Going to club on Friday, dancing disco is not going to help. Come down to this place, come and learn, educate yourself, enjoy yourself, come and speak your heart out. What is bothering you? Ask questions, learn from people, see what you can gain from this gathering. Then you can see yourself in a different way. So I just want to say this again, please bear with us. Hopefully the young people will start coming in, because I can see some of them coming in now. So hopefully we'll have them coming in at some point, and I hope everybody enjoys this. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, David. As you can see, this man has this forum to his heart. And I probably just to add to what he said, it's quite an important forum here. And if the kids are not here, some of the parents are here, so they have to take some of the responsibility or some of the messages back home to their kids who are probably still in bed, which is fine. So if the sons are not here or the daughters are not here, then please take these messages that you take from today back home to them. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try and, I don't know if anybody has an agenda, I'll read it out to you now. Agenda will be passed around shortly, just to give you an idea of what's going to happen today between now and 4 o'clock. We've had an introduction of the event. We're going to have introduction of some guests who are going to sit on this panel table. Some people like to call it the high table, but it isn't. If you're there, you're going to be grilled and asked loads of questions, and we expect to have the answers come from you. We're going to have some speakers. We've got 4 speakers. Then we're going to have a short play. We're going to have some refreshments provided by our local Tesco's around the corner, and also Nando's and Tasty. So please make sure that your bellies are nice and open and ready to accept the meal. We're going to also have an artist musical performance. Obviously, with issues this important and so grave, I think it's quite important that we have some light entertainment to follow it with. In our language, we say when you're eating gari or apple, you need the soup to make it, to be good, to make it go down the throat very smoothly. So we're going to have some entertainment so that the issues are not swallowed harshly, but taken in good faith. And then we're going to have a question and answer session, and that's hopefully when the panel will get asked questions. Some of the topics that we're going to be discussing today include, and in no particular order, a turbulent relationship, bridging the gap, the stop and search issues, myths and facts police and youth, the way forward and the way forward, how to develop a mutual understanding. These are some of the issues, and obviously these are not written in stone. If there are other things that you want to talk about, I'm sure today with the people we have here in our mix, they'll be able to either address the questions or point you in the right direction. What I'm going to do now is call up those who are going to be on the hot seat. And the hot seat is over there, so please, if you hear your name, that's where you're going to be seated there. Please do not take offence, this list was given to me. And again, in no particular order, Pauline Long. Please, as she walks up, I presume if you can just give her a round of applause. What I spent my time doing yesterday was just reading up on some of these people. Pauline Long is a philanthropist, she's a TV presenter, she's also a director, she's a founder of Black Entertainment, Film, Fashion, Television and Arts Awards, which is BEFTA, which I believe is taking place next week. She's also founder Mr. and Miss East Africa UK. She's also the founder of the Pauline Long Show. Through her pageant, she has opened many doors to empower young East Africans who live here in the UK to make sure they see their careers through. Thank you, that's Pauline Long. Please also welcome Chief Bimbo Roberts Folean. Bimbo is a great colleague of mine and probably needs no introduction, but for those of you who don't know, he is the chairman of the Central Associations of Nigerians here in the UK. The High Commissioner here, who serves the Court of St. James, likes to call him the father of the Nigerian community. So you can tell what kind of person he is. He's also the Executive Director of the Nigerian Diaspora Direct Investment Summit, which is a global organization which brings together Nigerian investment forums and the community. I also want to welcome to the hot seat, PC Watson. Thank you. PC Watson is a serving PC here in the borough of Greenwich. Thank you. I also want to welcome Joshua Bright. Joshua Bright is a very young man who has his own organisation which works with young people here in the UK. Thank you, you're welcome. I also want to welcome Lisa Cherry. Is Lisa Cherry here? Not yet. I also want to welcome Lee Jasper. Lee Jasper is here. Lee Jasper is a political activist. I think most of us do know him. Welcome. I'm just going to run through a few names, but I'm not sure, I don't know everybody, I'll be very honest. Sheldon Thomas. I know some of Sheldon Thomas? Sheldon Thomas. Welcome. Sheldon Thomas. Former gang member. Welcome. Founder, Target Against Crimes, a mentoring scheme in East London. Sheldon has spent considerable time changing young men and women and young women once they are caught up in gangs to try and change their lives into being entrepreneurial leaders and businessmen and women. Thank you, Sheldon, for being here today. As other members of the panel arrive, I'll try my best to announce them, I guess. First person I'm going to call to make a speech is going to be PC Watson. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll be honest with you, it's going to be incredibly short and sweet, hopefully. I haven't prepared anything. I wasn't aware that I was going to be making a speech today. I thought I was going to be in the crowd with you guys. Little introduction, I'm PC Darren Watson. I am the dedicated ward officer, as I'm now called, for Plumstead. Safe and Neighbourhood officer, the Old Soul beat officer, I'm local community officer. I think this forum obviously is quite important for me to be here. We do, or me and my colleague, we do have a number of young persons we come into contact on a daily basis, and the relationship perhaps isn't the greatest for whatever reasons, and we find a way of improving that. That would possibly be a positive. But yeah, my role is basically community officer. I'm there for the community, so I'm the one that's named on the website. Our contact details are on the website. If you have any issues in the community, feed it back to us. It's the first point of call. When we can take it further, we can try and get in there nice and early to prevent them issues developing into bigger issues. That is kind of, I would like to think, the main point of our role, is to try and prevent things developing before developing something serious. Not always successful, but we do try our best. Yeah, I will be here, obviously part of the panel. I will try and answer any of your questions later on in the day as honestly as I can. I like to think that I don't necessarily always toe the political line and give the political answers. I'll give you an honest answer of what I believe. And if I'm honest, I think people appreciate that. And that's the way we'll go today, hopefully. Thank you.
And such. One particular incident when I was at a studio that I manage in East London, I invited a young guy that I mentor, but he was about 6 hours late, and I asked him why. He said, I was just stopped and searched in Leighton. I said, why? He said, I don't know, this happens all the time. And I looked at his face and he was sort of like, it's normal. For him, it was normal, it was a daily occurrence. And for me, as a mom, and somebody who mentors young people, I thought there was something wrong. So essentially, I think that's why I'm here today. And that's why I'm probably sitting next to PC. Me and you will have little words, maybe, little whispers. Yeah, so feel free to join the discussion today and ask us whatever you wish to. Thank you.
Giving us speeches. Are there any particular questions or issues that people came with from home that they want to highlight or raise in this forum? Remember, it's an interactive forum, so it's not a one-way forum, it's supposed to be interactive. So before we kind of follow the agenda very rigidly, if there's things that people want to ask, questions that people want to ask, then please raise your hand, and we'll try and give you the space to air the question or the views that you might have.
I don't really have a question, but it's to do with parental involvement. There have been some times where my son has had some interactions with the police and the youth offending team, and I have put myself forward to ask questions, to be supportive, and find out how I can really guide him. As a single mom, was the challenge bringing up a young boy, especially in London. And on the receiving end, I was told, because he was over 16 at the time, that they didn't have to tell me anything. And I feel that parents want to get involved, parents want to support their children. So if the police and youth offending teams aren't inviting and encouraging a collaboration with parents, then the relationship is broken. They're the bridge, and I feel that that's a really important issue that really needs to be looked at.
I don't know, did anybody want to talk on that topic?
Obviously I don't know the particular circumstances. I'd agree with you. Getting the parents involved is vitally important. Unfortunately, there are a number of parents that aren't keen to get involved or don't have any interest, and I personally think that's quite a sad state of affairs. So it's nice to obviously see parents wanting to get involved, and I think that is the key. How old was your son?
He was 17 at the time.
17 at the time, right, so that would have been Was it a little while ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. At the time, a 17-year-old was it was considered they didn't need an appropriate adult with it involved. That's now been changed. So up until 18 now. So 17-year-olds, we will get their parents involved. That obviously doesn't help you in this situation. Hopefully that will help others. I believe that was a case that went through the courts a couple of months ago, and it was a rule that youths need to have their parents involved up until the age of 18 now. Obviously once they're at 18, technically they are an adult, and quite simply we have no power to involve the parents if that person doesn't want their parents involved. That's really all I can answer on that one, but hopefully it reassures you now that 17-year-olds will have their parents involved.
Thank you. We had one more question.
Well, this is for the organisers and the panel. Do you think that the Crown Prosecution Service should have been here and engaged in this discussion as well? Because it seems to me that they are an integral part of the solution for youth as well, in that they have to decide not to criminalise and to develop procedures to prevent that.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think that this forum that we have here today, to be practical, ought to have embraced the entire community, not just the Crown Prosecution Service. For the simple fact that the problem of youth is a general problem. It's a problem that affects everyone. Parents, we're happy that we have some parents here today, that we have the police, then we have some youths, so we should have these CPS as well. Not just that, it's a forum that we should I see this as little beginnings. Perhaps when we're having another session, because I'm really keen about this project, we should also have faith leaders, because there's a need for us to have a better understanding of youth. They have their own separate culture, they think differently. And some of the things that we talk about, the issues that we talk about within the youth community, sometimes we, the adults, we're also confused. We're confused because we're not sending the right signal, the right information. They have their culture, so everybody needs to be in this sort of forum, not just the police, not just the parents, but the entire community. There should be government representative, both at the local and the national level here, so that people that formulate policies, we're supposed to be in this room together addressing the problem. So I agree with you, that's something that should be looked at for the future.
Okay, we have a couple of questions. I'm going to take the lady first, because she's a lady.
Yes, I just wanted to check when the law that you spoke about was actually changed. From 16 to 18? That's of interest.
I can't give you the exact date. Right. I know it was around about June time. I believe there was a case that went through the European Courts of Human Rights. What you've got trouble with a lot of law is the definition. Sorry.
What you've got is, so I'm not sure how much you heard of it, I think it was June, around June time, it was a case that went through the European Courts of Human Rights. We got trouble with the law, and I'll be honest, what I found difficult to understand when I was at training school was the definition of a child. Different acts, different sections of the law define a child at different age. So under some sections, it will define a child as being a 16-year-old. And then, say, 17 was the limit for needing an appropriate adult in custody. And as we know, that the general, I think, accepted age is 18 for child adulthood. So I think it's a case of trying to merge all them together. It went through the courts, because there was a young lad that was 17, and obviously he rights and wrongs, but he wanted his mum there, allegedly. He wasn't allowed it because he was 17, didn't need the appropriate adult. So he took it to the court and said, well, I'm still technically a child. And that's where they basically said that was unlawful. So basically the policy was changed so that they need to be 18 and above before they stop having an appropriate adult.
I'm going to take one more question and then we'll move on to the next agenda item. But I'll also make sure that there's an opportunity for more questions to come forward.
Hi. My question is about reoffending. Do you think enough is being done by the community to actually stop people from reoffending by engaging them in positive things? I know private people, one person on your panel at least, do their own thing, but are they giving enough support to be able to ensure that what they are doing in order to get people out of the streets into something useful, getting them back into the community? Do you think the borough is supporting enough of sort of discouraging reoffending?
I think that enough is, we're not doing enough. The government is not doing enough. The police, I'm sorry, you see what's in, the police, the community, the faith leaders, the parents, we're not doing enough. That's the truth. All we're doing is that we're criminalizing young people when they make mistakes. Because don't forget that they have their own culture, they have their culture. There's a culture within, there's some things that are cool within the certain age groups. And when they fall foul of the law, what we then do is that we criminalize them. We turn them into criminals. Sometimes after we've punished them, we don't also put into process, certain things that need to reintegrate them back into the community. And then they become hardened. By the time they are punished, maybe they end up in some, form of punishment. Maybe, I don't know. But they come out of such punishment, becoming even harder. And that is how we've been producing people that have become criminals within the community. So we should be looking at what we should be doing more as parents and as governments, as police, to really move closer to the youths. They're not criminals, they're fantastic people. They have very clean mind, They're starting very clean, but unfortunately because of one thing or the other that has to do with their culture, maybe their parents, maybe their background, their schooling and orientation, then they tend to fall into, they commit all of these things. We should look at it more as errors and mistakes that needs to be corrected, rather than look at them as criminals. So I think we're not doing enough. We should be addressing that.
Be alive to what that battle is, and we need to do more. But at the same time, if we don't accept that our children are being targeted by police officers, and the figures and the stats show that they are, and we as their parents don't take on the political fight to lift that burden from them, then no wonder our children will be angry, not just with the police, but for their parents who are failing to recognise and tackle a problem that affects them greatly. I think that this is an extremely serious problem, and this released charity drugs report is the most significant research indicator that proves not only disproportionality in stop and search affecting young black people, but disproportionality in terms of charging like for the first time offence between black kids and white kids. Now what that means is that fundamentally black kids are being criminalised. Now, the challenges for us is that when the Stephen Lawrence report came out, stop and search started to decline.
And it started to decline every year, right up until the 7/7 bombings. And then it started to increase. In the last 5 years, in London alone, stop and searches increased by 200, in fact it's more than that, it was 750,000 people a year were stopped in 2007. And in 2013, it's 1.2 million. And the majority of that increase is young black kids. Now what I'm saying is, I'm bringing the boat into the harbour now, Chair. I only spoke as long as I've timed it. Well, what I'm saying is that we could talk about what our responsibilities are, but our responsibilities extend beyond just raising our children. Our responsibilities extend to fighting the racism that impacts upon their lives, that makes all our jobs harder to do when we're seeking to keep young people on the right track and off the wrong track. Now, I'm a great supporter of stop and search, right? I think the tool used effectively can be very effective. But there has to be a time when you're seeing year-on-year increases of stop and search targeting our children, that we're going to have to say to the police, that power has become counterproductive. And it's become counterproductive because you've abused it in your hands. If you've got a car, which is a beautiful car, and you give it to a driver who's perpetually drunk, and every time he drives a car he mashes it up, you're not going to give the car back to that person. If the police have a power, which year on year they say, we recognise the issue of disproportionality, we recognise we've got to do something about stop and search, and every year that figure goes up, then there's a point in time where as parents you're going to have to say, sorry, we don't believe that power is now effective.
Thank you, Lee Jasper. 2 poignant points from two great people. Sheldon, thank you. Lee Jasper, thank you. When we first started here, I did say that we as Africans, we like to eat pounded food. Those of you guys who were late would have caught this. It wasn't a joke actually, it was something that I foresaw. When we're eating our ground rice, we like to have a soup that makes the ground rice go down very smoothly down the throat. And I now introduce a soup that's going to make this conversation, the fierce words from the panel so far, go down smoothly so we can digest it and come up with more questions. I'm going to take this opportunity to introduce Hassan, the artist, who's going to present a poem for us here today. Actually, he's going to do two, because the matters that we're discussing here are so grave and so important that they require lots and lots of soup for them to be digested. Hassan.
Thank you. I just want to appreciate everybody that came here today. I understand what it means, but with soup, some people cannot take it spicy. If it's too spicy, they cough, and they need too much water. And then the water fills the belly more than the soup. And then you have some other people that, they call them pepperless, they can't handle pepper. And then you have the other people that, no spice at all. Just keep it simple. But what I'll say to you guys is this. Looking at this forum and this event that was put up today, looking at everything that has been said, and looking at the contributions, it's covered a wide spectrum, and most of it is true. But trying to balance it is where the issue is. And this is what it is. One hand cannot wash itself, so you need two hands to wash yourself. So because you need two hands to wash, so one hand keeps the other one clean, and one hand drops the water off and stuff like that. So life works the same way. What you can do, I cannot do. What you bring to the table, I cannot. What I add to the table, you cannot. The different spices add something different to the soup. And so when you take something out of the soup, then it loses some ingredients and it loses some taste. And so that's exactly what life is about. Life is about everybody bringing something, adding something, making it better, making it richer, making it stronger. It's not always about the age of the person, and it's not always about how big your input is. Your input may be the most little, but it may be most effective. I want to talk about love for the poem I'm going to read to you first. And I want to talk about love because, you see, everything centers around love. Everybody wants to know about love. Everybody wants to talk about love. Everybody wants to be loved. But not everybody is loved. That's just the truth. But you know, the issue with love is this. If I told you I love you, and you told me you love me too, we only said the same words. But when we're going to practice it, you will know who loves who more, because it's by your action. So love is not a saying word, love is a doing word. And because many people like to say love, so they don't see love. So let me read to you from this poem first. This poem is called True Love. True love is real care. What love is? I studied in school. The teacher told me that the meaning of love is God. And I asked the teacher why, and the teacher said, look in your dictionary. And I found out that the meaning of love is God. Then I asked again, who is that God? And the teacher said, what does the dictionary say? And the dictionary said, is that God that gave his only son, Jesus. He is God. So I had to go and check the Bible to find out about that God, to understand what love really means. And I found out that this is how God described love. He said, I looked at human beings and I saw that they've all missed their way. You know, those guys said it. And because they've all missed their way and people are not taking responsibility, then God said, I decided to take responsibility. So I decided to pay their price. So these are young boys that are supposed to go to prison. These are young girls that are supposed to be pregnant and they don't even know the boys. And these are all kind of people that are messed up, both parents and non-parents. And then God now said it like this. He said, everybody's guilty. Everybody. Nobody can escape it. It doesn't matter your title. Either you're police or you're not police. Either you're president or you're the king. It doesn't matter your title. Everybody guilty. And so because Jesus is a judge, and he says that, okay, if you're guilty, you can't make heaven, and hell is almost like a prison. Really, it's a prison. And so God decided that I'll pay the price. So he sent his only son. Nobody will give up your only son. But God did it. He said, for God so loved the world, and he gave his only son, so that people will escape the punishment, and the son will take the punishment. And so this is what God called love. But this is how I saw the poem. He says, then I realized that I saw and I looked more. I looked inside and understood that as you talk and as you read, as you learn and as you watch, somehow, somewhere, you grow deeper in understanding. And when understanding meets knowledge and application, leaves theory, and theory becomes practical, then life seems to make more sense. People seem to have more direction. And when love grows with it.